What's up everyone, it's Dakota and welcome back to another modern video, and today we're going to be playing Tron and we're going up against, well, I'll let you guys, well, you'll see in the title of the video, we're going to be playing against Rhinos, which is a matchup that came up in the quarterfinals, I believe, like two of the quarterfinals of the Pro Tour that happened like probably about 2 weekends ago at this point. But I wanted to kind of go over the matchup because barring any bannings or anything like that, knock on wood, this is going to be some prominent matchups that we see in the modern format just because this is probably two of the best decks currently in the format, just with the different tools and stuff they have of interacting with all the other decks in the format, of course. So, but of course, before we get into that, if you are not already subscribed to the channel and you want to support me and my content, you like seeing modern videos and all that fun, happy stuff, along with Pioneer, you should consider subscribing to the channel and ring that notification bell so you know when those videos get posted. And in the description of this video, I have two links. One goes to a Discord server. Feel free to go over there, follow that link, and join there. There's also my Twitch channel. I would really appreciate it if you also supported my live content over on Twitch. So let's get into it. We actually released a video, like kind of a beginner's guide of playing Tron. And one of the things I was talking about is that you really don't want to keep 7-card hands or even like 6-card hands really that don't have like an avenue to getting Tron. And in this hand, we ended up keeping this. It is one land. We don't know at this point like what we're playing against, but you know, we have like Tower, Sphere, and then if we want to, we can crack Sphere, Ancient Stirrings, more than likely find another land and end up playing Chromatic Sphere. Preferably we find like another Tron piece, and the Sylvan Scrying will end up getting us the last piece that we need. So I decided to keep this hand. We don't find out. Our opponent mulligans to 5, which is like super brutal and is going to be like very good for us. The makes this keep like even better, but they get to lead off with Gemstone Mine, Gemstone Mine exiling a Violent Outburst. So we do what we plan on doing. We play Tower Sphere. We get a draw step to look for another land. Our opponent just plays a land and passes. At this point, we're in pretty bad shape if our opponent has, you know, just mono counterspells. You know, we're hoping that they don't have any like subtlety, because Karn right now is currently our only payoff, and this Ancient Stirrings is going to be tied into finding us our second land. On top of all that, you know, we definitely don't want to get a Mystical Dispute if they end up having a third land. If they have a third land, like we're kind of hoping they don't have a Cascader, but they really can't have both, thankfully, to how low they mulligan. So, you know, we draw an Oblivion Stone, not good. We crack the map, or we crack the sphere, and we end up finding a power plant. So we end up just casting the Sylvan Scrying to get a mine, and that is just so this Ancient Stirrings can potentially find some gas later in the future. We have this Chromatic Sphere that we can play. On top of that, too, with assuming our opponent doesn't like Besage one of our lands, we're gonna get to play mine and play like a Wormcoil Engine or Chromatic Sphere, or just play a Karn Liberated, depending on what happens. So we pass the turn. Our opponent goes third land and has the Shardless Agent. They have 2 cards left in hand, so very unlikely. So my thought process going into this turn, all right, we're going to play a land. They have 2 cards in hand. There's no reason to play into a Force Negation. They didn't reveal any off of their Cascade, but they did reveal like subtle. They revealed 1 Force Negation, so deck normally plays like 4. So there's like 3 Force Negation. They milled over 2, or they went past 2 Subtlety, Mystical Dispute, things like that. So chances are, if they have like a counter or something like that, it is going to be Force Negation. So I just don't want to play a land, run out Karn, and then we take 10 damage, and then, you know, potentially leave ourselves open to like a Subtlety or something like that, or something that like this Wormcoil ends up just kind of being like stunted and left in our hands. So you'll find out that like this turn, I just play the land, I go Wormcoil Engine, and follow it up with a Chromatic Sphere. This way, our opponent really doesn't have a good attack, because at this point, if they just attack with 2 Rhino tokens and a Shardless Agent, we block a Rhino, we end up eating a Rhino, we take 6, but then we also gain 6 from the Wormcoil, so they don't really accomplish anything, and we'll be able to like start attacking, which is what we decide to do on the next turn, simply for the fact that they're going to have to trade they're going to trade a Rhino and a Shardless Agent. We are totally fine with that. We even have the option of like dismembering something like a Rhino or the Shardless Agent, whatever they block with, to kind of get like a maximum blowout. But they ended up blocking like this. I'm fine with this trade. Like we'll gain 6, we'll get 2 tokens, and from here, we're going to get to scrying, go get another tower. We have 8 mana, so then lets us Oblivion Stone and leave up an activation for it. Not forced to activate it. We can just put like counters on our worm tokens. Our opponent just keeps cycling Lorien's Revealed, which is like fine with us. They choose not to attack. We end up just putting a counter on our lifelink worm token. Like we just kind of get to do whatever, and we try to dismember it, but they have a Mystical Dispute, which is pretty unfortunate. A counterspell that they're unlikely to have in that position. At least I think so. And now our hand kind of sucks because we have like these 2 Ancient Stirrings, we have an additional Tron land, and we have a Karn Liberated. That said, it's not too terrible because our opponent is like super low on resources, and with this Oblivion Stone, we're not really priced into cracking it yet because if our opponent attacks, we're going to get to attack them for 6, gain 3 life, and they're just not winning that race at this current moment. So like we're going to get a free attack with this worm. We're cool with trading. That's fine. If they don't, we get in 3 points of damage. And again, if they decide they want to attack, we just simply take 4, go to 18, and we end up winning this race pretty easily. So the attack feels pretty free, especially with them tapped out. So then, we get in our damage. We end up just playing the Karn. The reason being, like, all they can have is like Force plus blue card, and if they have it, that sucks. But at least from here, like I said, we have Oblivion Stone to check a Rhino token. We can leave a 3/3 behind, and like I said, if they want to race or do any sort of like other stuff from there, they really can't do much. We could also just get rid of like Gemstone Cavern as well, because we attacked. If we decide that we want to save the Karn, we could just like throw away the worm token, whatever. But we had plenty of options there, especially if this Karn resolved, and with them conceding, it looked like the Karn was going to come down and just kind of take over the game as well. So yeah, that's game 1. Let's go ahead and jump over to game 2 and see how that goes for our Rhino opponent. So here we are for game 2. We decided to keep this hand. So we have 2 Tron pieces. We have a Karn, we have a Chromatic Sphere, and we have this Urza Saga. The hand's probably pretty weak overall, but I kind of like it on the draw for the fact that like we're going to get to see a few cards, and we're going to get to cycle with like Chromatic Sphere. We're very likely to find something that is allowing us to search for a land or just find the land naturally. So I end up keeping this, again, probably pretty loose. Definitely feeling more confident on the play than I am. I'm gonna hide the chat here. I feel definitely more confident on the with this keep, simply for the fact that we have 2 Tron pieces and our opponent mulliganed to 5, and they didn't have Gemstone. Well, they chose to take the plate, but you know what I mean. They don't really have a good start. They suspend Footfalls. We're fine with that. There's definitely going to be a few turns before that comes down. We end up drawing another Urza Saga, unfortunate, so then we end up just playing Chromatic Sphere and passing the turn. Nothing much more going on here. These Urza Sagas can eventually like put in some work too, just by getting to make a bunch of star constructs. Our opponent misses on a land, which is good and bad for us because obviously we know that they have obviously know that they're sitting on like all spells, so like this could be just like force negations and subtleties and whatnot, which isn't good when they're not really like getting any value out of it. And at this point now we have like three heavy hitters. We have a removal spell for one of them, and of course for those paying attention, we just naturally drew the missing Tron piece, which is kind of how it goes like when you play the Tron deck. Like sometimes you just get like super lucky. I believe our opponent here too also just ends up like missing another land drop. Kind of going like back and forth like in the chat and stuff like that, like just kind of how unlucky our opponent got from it, unfortunately. But now we draw like the One Ring. We have a few options. We just decided to play Karn the Great Creator. They end up having Force Negation, which is fine. Like we're gonna have to start working through like these counters and stuff too. So it is what it is. We end up just passing the turn. Nothing else that we can really do. Get to leave up Dismember for absolutely nothing that they can cast. Dismember might be a little bad in this matchup, specifically for the fact that usually you're paying 4 life to stop 4 damage, and it only works if you stop a Rhino over the course of multiple turns. But probably worth like cutting one and bringing like something in like Chalice of the Void, which I believe we end up actually bringing in out of the sideboard. No, we didn't. All right, we just left it in the sideboard. Or this doesn't show the sideboard because I'm pretty sure I either brought in like E or the Chalice. Maybe I'm wrong. That's a little awkward. There we go. All right, so this we have again we just have like Karn. Karn resolves, like we're just absolutely winning the game. They pitch a Shardless Agent, evoke the Subtlety. Believe we just end up putting the Karn on top just because like it's going to be kind of lights out. We're going to hit their last land, or just start picking off like the Rhinos that they just make, and that's really all that they have going is just playing these Rhinos. I almost have a feeling I put it to the bottom, and then I'm just going to draw like a Tron piece. Nope, put it on the bottom, and we have Karn the Great Creator. Another one. So like this allows us to go and get engineered explosives. They force pitch Shardless Agent. We end up getting a Karn minus. Go and get Chalice. Put it on 0. At this point, not really going to matter much, but if like they start like hitting their land drops and stuff, it's going to be pretty bad. They end up attacking Karn, so I just take another 4 damage. I save the Karn, add some mana. We're just going to absolutely decimate our opponent with this Ulamog. Like that was kind of like our game plan going to it, for the fact that like if we just we're going to end up cashing in our Urza Saga that was on 3 counters to go get a map. We're going to be able to crack the map with like the mana floating, or essentially leave a mana floating because we're going to tap a mine to upgrade it to a tower. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ulamog, get rid of the last 2 permanents. Doesn't matter if they have like a subtlety or anything like that for Ulamog. Just puts it back on top and gets to do it again. So that is the power of the Tron deck kind of showing off its muscles. Definitely I definitely think that this deck you can get away with some a little bit looser keeps, simply for the fact that like if you have a game plan for assembling Tron, and I point this out in my video on my beginner's guide of Tron. If you want to go check that out, I believe it's like going to be not the last video obviously I posted because you're seeing this one, but the one before it. Definitely feels like Tron is super powerful right now, and especially if you just have like a way of getting Tron in your opening hand, you are pretty much set up for success. And even past that, like there were some games like where we weren't able to get Tron right away, like on turn 3, maybe like turn 4 or turn 5, and this deck is still able to function just with cards like Karn the Great Creator and all these other like effects like Chromatic Sphere and Stars to kind of go through your deck and eventually just find like Ancient Stirrings and kind of keep the land drops going while, again, thinning out your deck, so then eventually you will just draw some of those heavy hitters. And with even the addition of Urza Saga, able to find, expedition maps, you're able to bring in cards like Tormod's Crypt and Grafdigger's Cage, as well as cards that like you want to see, but also if you don't see them, like Urza Saga on like turn 1 or turn 2, can just go and get them at a reasonable time. And for a lot of decks, like it just ends up being a complete hoser while also giving you kind of like a pseudo win condition against some of the control decks as well. So very interesting stuff. Tron is, as long as Karn the Great Creator and even the One Ring avoid a ban, which I think even Tron will still be good after the One Ring banning, but obviously not nearly as good. But yeah, that's going to do it for me this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like on the video. Comment down below if you absolutely despise Tron, because I have people letting me know that they hate Rakdos Scam, and quite frankly, I do too. The fact that it gets to do what it does is insane, and this deck also is pretty insane as well when it wants to be. So that's going to do it for me in this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you all in the next video.